State Department for MSMEs Development, Susan Mangeni. Honorable Mangeni, many thanks for staying on with us. Now let's talk about concerns over policy guidelines that govern the formalization of MSMEs in Kenya, because Kenya has about 7.5 million MSMEs that employ over 15 million Kenyans and contribute 40% to the GDP. So it is a huge contributor to Kenya's economy. It could be higher, but formalization of MSMEs then even minimizes business risk incurred by individuals, also allows them to have access to credit and formal funds and capital, so to speak. Do we have policy guidelines for formalization of MSMEs?
Yes, we have policy guidelines, and just even before that, better, which is bottom-up economic transformation agenda in itself, is a socio-economic revolution, trying to disrupt the existing environment to make it more conducive. So even in terms of policies, those policies are not cast in stones. Once we see, we come up with a business business ideas that we think can help us create more job opportunities, sustainable jobs, then we can always relook at policies. It's not something that is cast in stones, which cannot be touched. We walk around seeing where is it pinching. Now, why formalization is very important, and from the notion that is existing. You know, anytime you talk about formalization, what comes into people's mind is taxation. And you see, nobody across the world is ever happy about taxation. There's no government that is ever popular. Tell me one government that is popular when it comes to taxation. There's always that feel that you're taking something from me. So it's like punitive. So we always look at the government as governments all over the world. Everywhere you go to Europe, you go to America, citizen will always be uncomfortable. They will always discuss in murmurs about taxation. But the most important thing is when those taxes are utilized. And in Kenya Kwanza administration, there is a promise for ensuring effective utilization of those taxes, making sure that those taxes are plowed back to support an enabling environment in terms of access to finance, in terms of making sure that we have appropriate infrastructures
this is one of the reasons why the youth are on the street today. Mismanagement of funds, corruption, even in funds that are meant to benefit them. So it is a commitment on paper, but is it really being implemented? Yes,
it's being implemented. And just to be fair to the administration, there's quite a lot that is happening. I mean, and the president has been outspoken on this and saying that anybody who is comfortable with corruption will face the consequences. And indeed, you're seeing a lot of movement up and down. We're seeing a lot of movement. It's not like everything is just standstill. And sometimes always good is to appreciate where we're going. It's not a problem that we can wake up today and get to finish, but it's a problem that we can start working with. And I believe the Kenyan, the current administration is seriously taking issues of prudence in the utilization of public resources so seriously. We've been put to check, even as accounting officers. Right now we have numerous circulars that keeps on reminding us we're right now implementing a zero-fault audit, because that's the space that also incubates, taxes. We're right now addressing the issues of pending bills, because unlike before, pending bill has been a very huge problem, especially in the MSME sector. Right now, the president set up the task force, which is looking into that and coming up with recommendation, which then we are going to implement. So we are sealing all loopholes that have been, creating this animal called corruption. And I believe, like I said, we may not achieve all today, but at least we are on that pipeline to achieve it.
Let's stick on that, because part of the reservation over the finance bill of 2024, especially from MSMEs, was that MSMEs had taken such a huge burden from the tax implications imposed on the finance bill for the financial year 2023-2024.
Yes.
That it was important to give them some breathing space to absorb the shocks imposed by those tax obligations. So let's speak about those alone. Are SMEs overtaxed, in your view?
Are SMEs overtaxed? Everybody in Kenya is taxed. Now, the question of being overtaxed or not being taxed, like I've said, taxation is taxation. Are we overtaxed? If it's bringing about the social goods that gives us some relief. For example, why do we have tax rise? One, because of the programs in which you're running. We talked about affordable housing, and where we have a housing levy. This affordable housing, what is the objective? The objective of affordable housing is to create also more jobs into economy for our young people. Now, if we get majority of our population to participate effectively in the economy, we'll be widening the tax bracket. So if we open up the tax bracket and we widen the base, it means now majority of us, we will be contributing, and automatically the tax rates will come down, so that the people who are right now contributing will now then also increase. If we increase the contribution, the tax base, it means now you release the pressure from the few people who are shouldering. Now, let's look at the income tax, for example. We have 7 million Kenyans who have PIN, out of which only 3 million actually files returns. Majority of them file nil returns. So when it comes to income tax, most of the people, our population, are filing nil returns. So meaning a few people, yourself, myself, and a few people who are formally employed are the ones who are filing income tax and contributing to that effect. But remember, it is their taxes, plus of course this one that we collect from VATs and stuff, this that has to support our health sector. It is their taxes where we drive subsidies for the agricultural sector. It is those taxes that we have to maintain security. It is those taxes that we have to invest in the education sector to continue our livelihood. Where are we investing this?
Why do you think Kenyans are not paying tax?
No, but it's, I did not say Kenyans are not paying tax. I'm just talking about the structured way of paying tax, and I chose about the income tax, and I'm giving you the income tax as it is today. We have 7 million who have PIN, and out of the 7 million who have PIN, majority of them are around 4 million are filing nil returns. Only about 3 million people are filing, are paying something, are paying the income tax. So what does it mean? So these 3 million people who are paying now have to shoulder. This is over and above the other dependents which we do. For example, you have to take care of your siblings, you have to take care of your family. Everybody else who is not employed is also looking at you. Now, we then started addressing primary sectors, for example, health sector. If we make sure that every Kenyans have a chance to access quality health care. And how do you assure that? By investing into it. If you go, for example, to Kenyatta Hospital, to any dispensary, to any health center, you can be taken care of. It's going also to reduce the burden on you. So then your taxes are working. Because remember, if we say now, okay, we're not going to pay tax, and now we put everything at a cost. You see, in this country, sickness is the major driver to poverty. Because when you are sick, there's nothing you can do. You become extremely poor because you have to dispose of everything that you have. So what I'm saying, Kenyans, yes, are paying tax. But where are those tax going? And how do we ease the burden? By making sure we get as many people, and especially formalizing the informal sector. We expand the tax base so that then it's not only a few people who are actively paying tax. So the burden is shared across.
I want us to get to the opportunities then that the youth can leverage from the Kenya Kwanza government, and especially in the advent of devolution. Where are these services available? Where can they get, can they go, which door will they knock on and get access to funding? How available is this information to the youth to begin with?
So the opportunities, especially in access to financing, we have quite a number of initiatives that are locking opportunities to financing. In my sector alone, my state department, we are talking about Uwezo Fund. Uwezo Fund, most of the beneficiaries it support, majority of them are young people, and you come together in a group. At the grassroots, you can, you know, aggregate yourself into group, either self-help group, either CBO, and you can apply for this facility. There is no interest. You can, and we've seen supporting so many MSMEs there. A lot of MSME gets to appreciate that they reside within opportunities which they can exploit and do business through Uwezo Fund. So it's always there. And we have Uwezo Fund offices in each and every constituency. You'll find a Uwezo Fund officer there. We have our committees. The local MP is the patron. The women rep is the county patron of the Uwezo Fund. So each and every constituency there, you have a space through where you can form yourself in groups and get to access the Uwezo Fund loan to support your income generating activities. We have the Youth Enterprise Loan, which has existed since 2006. And youth enterprise is for the young people who have some unique ideas which now can be taken to the market, and what they're lacking is just finance to support that. The youth enterprise loan, the interest rate is 7% per annum. Like I said, Uwezo Fund is zero interest rate. It's really an intervention that is stimulating economic activity, first of all, participation at the grassroots level, so it's zero interest rates, and you can access it in each and every constituency is there. Then we have KIE, the Kenya Industrial Estate. Kenya Industrial Estate now picks up some of ideas, for example, in the manufacturing. We have so many young people with good innovative ideas for value addition. You can get supported up to about 20 million. Currently, we are doing a max of 20 million, and the interest rate is 10% per annum. Even though at that level, you may need a collateral, and a collateral, especially if you are a farm that has existed for quite some time, you may need a collateral in form of land or in form of certain assets that you could be having, your bank statements and all those. But then we now, what are we doing about that space? We want to try and re-engineer, and that's why Hustler Fund is so necessary. The credit score in Hustler Fund is so necessary because we want that credit score now to replace all these collaterals, all these conventional collaterals in these funds, so that our young people, because our young people don't have title deeds, our young people, most of them don't have a pay slip that they can use to access loan. They can be able now to use the credit score to access that. But what opportunities now, after what has happened in the last 2 weeks, we've also been reminded of the need to take quick actions supporting our young people. I think we've been concentrating so much in the space of the vulnerable young people, and we had not quite figured out the young people who are in this space, for example, in the universities, in this tech space, who need also to be supported. So we are coming up with
that arise then from access to funding, and this has been concerns of competition for SMEs in the country, either from larger companies and larger enterprises, or from foreign companies and foreign enterprises altogether. What policies have been put in place to ensure that MSMEs do not lose their space in the wake of competition like that?
I think before we even go to competition, I believe there's so much for everybody. In this space already, there's so much for everybody. If you pick a value chain like edible oil, there's so much for everybody to do, right from the farm level, production, value addition, you have logistics, you have what. I think it's just a question of positioning And this position requires us to invest in capacity building so that our MSMEs then gets to understand their various niches. I know we've been complaining so much, oh, we are allowing other nationalities to come and do businesses, which would have done. But you also have to appreciate that we are also on the global space. We also looking at those global markets. So if we are going also so much to restrict our market from and ring-fence it in this global age, then what happens also? How do we build our competitiveness if we cannot access? And for us even to thrive as an economy, we also have to find a way of bringing in foreign exchange. That's what really puts us on the global market. So much as we are rooting for export market also means that equally we must also open our markets. However, let me take an example of an MNC, a multinational company that we have in Kenya, the Unilever. So what the Unilever have done is that because of the disruption in the global supply chain, you know, owing to the wars that we are experiencing, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza and stuff, it has really kind of distorted the supply chain. Everybody is looking local right now. So they've come up with a program. And this program, they have identified young people, especially young women, who they're now building their capacity. They've come up with an accelerator program to build their capacity, to give them the ability to supply to them. And they've set aside 1 billion Kenyan shilling to buy from them. Okay. So we're having such kind of initiatives. So where I was talking about competition is just a question of positioning. So Unilever is a big boy, if you like it, in the market. You cannot compete with it. But they're saying they can still exist side by side by MSME. So it's a question of identifying where is the space in which I can participate in as an MSME. And I think I will not blame MSMEs. That requires sustained capacity building so that they know how to position themselves in this competition. And we cannot avoid it because we are on the global stage.
We don't have much time. Let's deal with the issue of SME innovation and patenting, because at the end of the day, then many of the solutions to our problems will be homegrown problems and from our very own youth. The Kenya Kwanza government has moved to establish industrial parks in different counties, but there's been calls as well to establish incubation centers to take care of issues such as innovation and patenting. And a report by the Kenya Association of Manufacturers shows that only about 30% of Kenyan companies have come up with new innovations within 3 years of the existence. Why is that? And how far are we when it comes to patenting and spurring innovation among our youth?
We are right now discussing the startup bill. And I think if this goes through, eventually goes through, it's going to come up with those interventions on how we can. I agree, there has been a concern, but again also it is us Kenyans, by the way. I know technology is good, but sometimes we get overexcited and expose our ideas in TikToks, in everywhere. And in this space, people are just outside there. We have Kenyans who have got very unique ideas, but before you think about it, it's on TikTok. We are so generous when it comes to exposing our innovations, and sometimes this works against us. So you come up with something, but then you create a fuss around it, and you know, and you are all over the social space with it, and somebody somewhere is picking that idea, and with that idea goes ahead and actually patents it. We've had situations where even our kiondo, and this we grow up seeing this kiondo being made by our Maasai women, our kitenges, all those things, our deras. You find them, they've been patented there in China, in Europe, in where you go there to sell your products, you have to be levied to do that.
Then is the government
we are going to protect that is to see how do we galvanize that space. First of all, is to appreciate that we have that space, the tech space, And the digital trade is the reality we have right now. So for us to create more jobs, we have to look at the digital space on how we're going to create. But also that one has to be regulated to make sure that we preserve our unique ideas. And you know, when it comes to technology, Kenya is always known for being the Silicon Savannah.
Right.
So we have so many tourists who are coming here as tourists, but also coming here to pick good ideas, good innovation from Kenya. So since now the reality is dawning on us that even as our young people come up with the idea, by the time it is published, it's outside there, ready to go to the market, hey, it's been patented elsewhere. And you see, when you try to access that market, you now lose out, because then you've seen as if you are not the originator. So I think the startup bill is going to support us to address some of those concerns, but also about incubation. I operate also in the private sector space because I'm a private sector facing state department. My work is to support the private sector to thrive so that they can create more sustainable jobs and they can generate more revenue to economy. I mean, that's my work to support. Right. So to look at the environment. But also, locally, we've had Kiridi. Kiridi each and every year is channeling out lots of good entrepreneurs with good startup ideas ready to go to the market. So what the State Department then has done is to try and create a platform where we can link up. Everybody can be seen in that platform, from the incubators, accelerators, financiers, everybody who is in that space. And now, beginning this new financial year, this July as we are speaking, we've been able to mobilize resources to support us in that regard. Okay. Right now, we have a project, we will be rolling out a project, the Kenya Jobs Employment Transformation, a 150 million USD, a project that is targeting, one, to first of all, relook at the business environment and try to improve the climate for investment both by our local MSMEs and even the foreign investors, which we're working in conjunction with the State Department of Investment Promotion. Then we have a component on co-investment. In this way, we want to promote MSMEs in the manufacturing sector. So we'll be looking out for those ones, for example, who are graduating from Kiridi, and see how do we then organize them in an entity and give them access to machineries, which they can co-invest. We're also looking at, we also coming up with a green investment fund, because right now the world is going green. We're all focused on sustainable development, so we need to promote also businesses that can help us, you know, also manage this climate change crisis that we are in it. So that's why.
We must begin to wind up. Just before you finish, just two more questions before you wind up. And one is a major concern by you know, Kenyans in the MSME sector. With the current situation and the withdrawal of the finance bill of 2024, there has been talk about consequences and major budget cuts. Is this going to affect the working of the MSME sector, especially with regard to the Hustler Fund, the Uwezo Fund, the National Government Affirmative Action Fund, and all these others?
Yeah, of course, when there are cuts, and this is what Kenyans said, and Kenyans said we have to reduce our obligation. I mean, the budgetary cuts. So it's been sized across. It's been rationalized across the State Department.
What does that mean for me,
for MSME, what this means, yes, we may not achieve in terms of everything that we needed in this financial year, which we had lined up in this financial year, in terms of reaching out to as many people as we can. But the good thing also is that because we are a private sector facing, we've been working closely with the private sector. We've been working closely with the development partners. And like I said, other than the KJET project, we're also looking at the Nyota. These are development partners projects that we are working together. And I think we will continue with that and see where that one will take us.
All right.
But the cuts is going to, we're going back to the reset mode.
Okay, so that
to look at
bad news for
so it will just
give you your final
well, it's not.
Michelle,
in addition to that, I would just want to say, for us, for you to, if you were to assess the impact of our sector from the government side to the MSME, you look at how many of those MSMEs, especially in access to finance, how many of those MSMEs are now accessing mainstream financing? All right. If you were to ask what Hustler Fund has done in the last 1.5 years, the question will be, we were rehabilitating. How many have we rehabilitated? And I will say here, and that's why if these 1.6 million Kenyans, there's so much we can do from them. Okay. They can create more jobs to this economy, and they're at a space now where they cannot be reintegrated back to the mainstream financing sector. Okay. And I believe...
Let's wind up then. We're completely out of time. Minister, so thank you so much, first of all, for being here with us on New Dawn and outlining the efforts in the MSME sector to ensure that youth get opportunities within the sector and the policies that have been put in place by the Kenya Kwanza government. We'd like to hear more of your thoughts on this on New Dawn. That's the hashtag. We've been speaking to the Principal Secretary, State Department for MSME Development, Susan Mangeni. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for watching this morning. Let's take a break here on New Dawn. When we come back, we bring you special coverage as Gen Z plan another round of street protests across the country today, despite President William Ruto's withdrawal of the contentious finance bill of 2024. Just stay with us.
When it's a Saturday,